Eros Meets Agape is a bi-weekly heart-to-heart conversation about love, sex, marriage, and relationships. Everyone wants to love and be loved, but everyone does not know how to give and receive the love they both want and need. Intimacy and passion are essential, yet mean nothing if there isn't unconditional and sacrificial love, which is the foundation for any lasting relationship. Dr. Saudia is a licensed marriage and family therapist and minister. Let's listen in as she shares how to create healthier and happier relationships.
Hey there, family. It is time for another episode of the Eros Meets Agape podcast. And today we are answering this question. Is love a decision or is love a feeling? I heard this quote years ago, which says, follow your heart, but take your brain with you. And it kind of speaks to both. But I think we kind of see where that person is headed in regard to this question. But we're going to dive in. So head over and meet me in the classroom. I will see you in a second. Hey there, family. It is me, your host, Dr. Saudia of the Eros Meets Agape podcast. And I am so excited to join you today as we are discussing a really important question. Is love a decision or is love a feeling? I know if we think about, let's look at it from the reverse. And it actually kind of quickly reminded me of this old episode of Girlfriends, where there's this scene and Tony, if you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. I believe Girlfriends is on Netflix. So you might want to check that out. It was a really good show. But one of the characters, Tony, was getting a divorce, and the other character, Lynn, they're in the courtroom and Lynn is getting ready to testify. And you would really think she was in a deep, heartfelt conversation answering a question, but all they told her to do was raise her hand. Do you solemnly swear, blah, 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 blah. But her point that she was making, that she kind of made comical, was, we all gather together in, happiness and joy when we celebrate couples when they get married, right? And it's because they have this sense of feeling towards one another, right? We know that's love. But when we think about love and when love goes wrong, well, what happens? Is it a fact that the decision to love has now changed? Or is it more so a matter of, I no longer feel the same? As a counselor and working with my clients, I have to remind them of key points. And this is just theoretically correct, whereas you can have a happy, let's look at it like a triangle, okay? So over the course of a relationship, you'll have two people that with the addition of a third person, it can improve the relationship, or the removal of a third person can really kind of improve or worsen the relationship. So that's a lot being said. So let me break that down. So you can have an unhappy relationship, and with that, you can have the addition of a child, and that in and of itself can improve the foundation and the emotions of that relationship, thus strengthening it. But you can also have an unhappy relationship, and the addition of a third person, a child, can make that unhappy relationship even worse. But it's also vice versa. You can have a happy couple system and the addition of a child worsens it, or you can have a happy relationship and the addition of a child can make it worse. So it's kind of choppy. Even in my head, I'm like, wait a minute, what did I just say? But the point is, it can go in either direction, meaning things can be great and then you can add or remove a third person and that can worsen it, or it can improve it. Or also you can have an unhappy system and the addition of a third person, a child, can improve it, or the addition of a child can make things worse. Theoretically, it sounds like, well, what did they really answer? Because if it can go in any direction, what did they really tell us? Well, in essence, think of it this way. I always like to break things down to make it more personal so we can get a picture out of it. So you all know me and my stories, right? So you knew one was coming. All right, here we go. So I am in my 20s and I'm seeing this guy, and he basically, and I think I probably mentioned this before. You all know I say some of the same things when it comes to my stories over and over again. But in this particular example, I'm dating this guy, and in essence, I don't know if he wanted to get married, if it was on his mind. I have no clue. But his point was, let's have a kid together. Now, in the back of my mind, you all know, I started thinking, what in the world? What is he talking about? Where did this come from? I'm saying to myself, how dare you want to associate yourself with me for the rest of your life, but not be with me for the rest of your life? Now, there are some people that is their ministry, and I commend you for your ministry. But that's not my ministry, folks. Now, it could be a reason why my situation, thoughts, experiences have led me to where I am. I don't know, but nevertheless, that was not my ministry. My ministry is wife me up. That's the only way that I'm going to be able to be in a relationship where I'm having your child. Okay. But that's just me. Everybody's different. But when he asked me that, I was just like, is he serious? Now, things weren't going well between us. And when I say we were in a relationship, please hear me. Use that word very loosely because I'm very open-minded, not in as an open relationship. This is no Jada Pinkett entanglement situation here. No, I'm open-minded in the fact that if I am seeing that you do not want to be with me, I'm not one of those women that will pressure you to be with me. I'm not going to create scenarios, opportunities in order to be seen, liked, or loved by you. I'm going to let you figure that out on your own. And for me, it's because I don't ever want to get up wondering, are you with me because I convinced you to be there? Or are you with me because you chose to be there? Okay. So when he brings this up, instantly it's a no for me, right? And it was a no because that's just not my ministry. But his point, which is what I'm getting back to, I know y'all thought I forgot, but I didn't. But his point to that matter was things aren't really going great between us. But I believe if we had a child together, we would work together a lot better. I honestly don't know what he was thinking, you all, because I never asked, because yet again, that's not my ministry. But his point probably was it will make us better together. And I just don't believe in that. I could have rolled the dice and took the chance, but I wasn't willing to do that. Okay. So the point is you can have a unsatisfactory couple unit, and then having a child can make things better. Or you can actually have a happy relationship in the addition of a third party or a child. When I say third party, I don't want you all to think, why does she keep saying that when it's always a child? Just look at it this way. If you are a person of color, we are generational units, meaning you're Latina or you are African American. We come from generations where we all stick together. So you generally have 3 generations in a household, or at least very close by. So that mother-in-law is always there, y'all, okay? Close by, if not within the home. For the majority of people, I can't say everyone. So that's why it's sometimes a third party where, you get older, you take care of parents, or you might take care of, maybe a great aunt or uncle, something like that, right? So that's what I mean when I say, other third party. It could be someone else. Or you could be taking care of someone else's kid, things of that nature. But we're going to stick to parent and child here. So when it comes to really looking at this, research has shown that having children can disrupt a relationship. So just as much as it can make it better, it can also make it worse. And that's because there's an adjustment. Everyone has to get acclimated to their new home life, sleep life or the lack thereof, things you have to do for children that you didn't have in your schedule or regimen before. So now you have to implement that, which means it takes time away from you as a couple, which now means that things that came effortlessly because it was just the two of you, you now have to really work harder on in order to have more quality time as a couple. So you're probably saying, girl, I thought you were saying that we were going to talk about love being a decision or a feeling. I'm getting there. We're laying the foundation, folks. We're laying it all down together. Then we're going to just dive in head first. Okay. So when you're looking at a relational unit, you're looking at whether it is starting off happy and it's going to improve over time, hopefully. But with life and careers and children, all of these variables together can make that go in a direction that can be favorable or unfavorable. So with that being said, if love is a decision, Now, this is opinion, my opinion. If love is a decision, and I am of the group that love is actually a decision. We are deciding to be together, right? And most people will make that decision off of their feelings. But if you think about it, if you are dating and you are really conscientiously dating, so some of you may say, what is conscientiously dating? Let me help you out. Most people over 40 are consciously, intentionally, purposefully dating because they are saying to themselves, I do not want to be alone. I want to find a mate that is compatible with me, my needs, my life, and I want to be able to join together with this person so that I can have a happy life. People over 40, it could be people younger, but most people over 40 have gotten to the place whereas they know what they want, they know what they don't like, what they can put up with, what they will put up with. And as a result, they're willing to compromise and they've gotten rid of a lot of the fluff. So they've made the decision that I am going to date with the intention of long-term relationship and or marriage. And if I am dating intentionally and purposefully, I make a decision that I'm compatible with someone. So it could be my feelings leading me and guiding me, or it could be the fact that they are really, how can I put this? They are fulfilling my emotional and relational needs. Therefore, that in and of itself will make me feel satisfied in the relationship because me as an individual will be satisfied because they are in a position to know who I am, what it is that I like, and what I need from a partner, as opposed to necessarily the things that I want. I believe when we're younger, there are a lot of things that we want, and it's just not realistic. Like, if I just have to be honest, some millennials, yes, talking about you guys, most Gen Zs, yes, talking about you guys, okay? Nothing negative, just pointing out a fact. Believe, man, I just got out of college. I'm about to go be the CEO of this company. Wait a minute, I've worked here 90 days and they don't want to promote me. And it's like, slow down, boo. It's not that time yet. You got your 90 days in. Right now, you have earned your benefits. You have not earned promotion rights. So using that as an example in the fact that when we're younger, we're more so looking at our wants, what it is that we want from life, which there's nothing wrong. And I'm not trying to condemn them, because it is a hopeful mindset. But we have to recognize that while there are things that we want that we will work towards achieving, there are also things that we need. And we always have to make certain that our needs are placed first, because if so, then I have the ability and the strength emotionally, mentally, physically to acquire my wants. So for instance, I might want to buy a mansion, but I simply need a roof over my head. So if I provide my basic need of a roof over my head and I save money, eventually I can get to a place where I buy a mansion, right? But I can't want a mansion and then maybe doing all these things to try to acquire a mansion, but my basic need has not been met, which is shelter, okay? Very basic example, not really correlating with the love sense here. But going back to that point, we're looking at needs and wants. And once we reach a particular age or mindset in our lives, we recognize that when it comes to a relationship, then I have made the decision that I will move forward with a long-term partner or spouse, but based off of, has this person acquired the ability to really get me? Thus meaning they know how I am emotionally and they can work with that. They're meeting my intimacy needs, not sexual, but intimacy, emotional intimacy needs. And because they're able to do that, that is satisfying to me in a relationship more so than fulfilling my wants in a relationship. So vacations with Bae are great. That's something I really want. But overall, over time, will that affect my relationship to make me like this person or love this person more or better? No. In all honesty, when it comes to working with couples, what works that helps them to stay together are having those relational needs met, those intimacy needs met. And when we have a need that is met, then I can move on to my wants. So if I'm answering the question, do we make a decision to love, or is it our emotions? that has made us get to a place of love? I believe it starts with the decision. So let me give you an example I think many people will relate to. Now, I'm not saying it's 100% effective, because if that were the case, everybody would be doing this still to this day. And that's the reason why we now in America get to choose our spouse. But let me go to the point. Many years ago, they used to have arranged marriages. Now, arranged marriages didn't mean that they actually even knew that person. It was like, hey, look, this person I was watching The Spanish Princess. Okay. That was a really great show. All right. It's all about the European Empire or what have you, and how, King Louis and his first wife, Catherine, Queen Catherine, how their story, it's loosely adapted from their story. But they were an arranged marriage. In order to make them stronger as countries, they had to unite. And the way that they would unite would be to join a prince with a princess, right? Because you couldn't just have some local commoner. It had to be the child of a king or queen of another country. And they would unite them together in marriage to solidify the strength between these two countries. And that's what happened there. So according to the story, I don't know if this is accurately true. According to history, I believe not, because there was a 9-year age difference, but I digress. But in the story, on watching that movie, The Spanish Princess, they actually really loved one another. Even though they were an arranged marriage, that was a decision to marry, they grew to fall in love with one another. So when you make a decision to marry, now that's an old example. So look at present day with love being a decision to marry. I'm dating you. I'm learning you. I learned that there are things that I like about you. More than likely, there's some things that I don't particularly care for, but we all have to make some compromises. They're going to make that with us as we do with them. And so, I can push that to the side, because in essence, you have and possess a lot of the things that I need in order to fulfill me with a partner, as well as to fulfill me within a relationship. Now, the more time I spend with you, then the more I get to know your character. And that's what we generally fall in love with. We generally do not fall in love with the things that people do for us or can do for us. We generally tend to fall in love with who they are, and as a result, and how that makes us feel. So if we're looking at love being a decision as opposed to an emotion, I decide to spend more time with you based off of what I have learned about you. And thus I open the door of opportunity for me to learn more. But the more I learn about you, the more I like you, the more I like you, the more I will end up falling in love with you. Now, the decision from there then becomes, do we make this monogamous? We're one-on-one. And then now that we're a couple, do we want to spend the rest of our lives together? But in essence, in all of these stages, it's a decision. If I've made a decision to marry you, it's because I made a decision that, I love you and I like you and I wanted to spend more time with you so that I could see what could become of this. So in order for me to get to a place of marriage, I had to make the decision, do I want to give you more of my time? It was a decision. Prior to me deciding that, I had to decide, do I want to give you a chance? Do I want to talk to you? Do I want to date you? It is a series or a sequence of decisions that are being made, and emotions eventually came along with that, which was why we continued in that sequence, because we were receiving positive results from that. But let's look at it from the opposite side, okay? Emotions, because you could be team emotions, okay? So if you're team emotions, then you're probably saying, well, no, love really isn't a decision. It's a result of my feelings that now I want to be with you. So the decision comes after the fact that my feelings have first surfaced. But guess what? When you first meet someone, and I'm going to be on your side, okay? So I don't want to discredit anything. So you first meet someone, you're giving them a chance or what have you. Maybe you had sparks in the beginning and it was, wait a minute, what is this that I'm feeling? What's going on here? So in your favor, I am an individual, whereas when I say I rarely like someone, it's like when I do, it's like, whoa, everybody turn on the alarm. Something is going on here. This is different, because I just rarely like someone. I mean, I can be attracted to someone, but for me to like you, it's like, wow, this is special. That's what lets me know, hey, pay attention here. So when you like someone, you are really inquisitive about this person. You are enamored with this person. You want to know more. And it's generally because you like them, that you like how they have made you feel. They have awakened something on the inside of you. So you spend more time with them. The more time you spend with them, the more you're feeling that butterfly-like feeling, right? Remember that first time in love? You're like, what is this? I enjoy this feeling that I have here, right? You had all of these emotions within you. You didn't know what to do with them. It was this euphoric sense that was, going on and building up within you. And then over time, you're recognizing I'm feeling this way consistently. What is happening? You're falling in love. And the more you are feeling this person and falling in love with this person and loving this person, you're making a decision to be with them. So that is my view on love or emotions leading us to love, not necessarily a decision which leads us to love. But let me go back a minute because I'm going to take it back to some science, folks. That's right. So when you think of that butterfly-like emotion, all right, and that means, it's that fluttery feeling. You get, really excited, maybe even a little tense, nervous energy, whatever you want to call it. It's a nice way to say that a release of chemicals have taken place in your body. That's right, folks, chemicals. Dopamine, oxytocin, even adrenaline, right? Oh my gosh, they're coming by. I remember I used to love me some Marcus in middle school. And if Marcus came over and talked to me, my adrenaline would be racing like, oh my gosh, I can't mess this up, right? So it's this intensity that we experience. And then, of course, the chemical vasopressin. But all of these chemicals, they are brain chemicals that are igniting us, that allows us to have this euphoric sense of emotion, this sensation of feeling. And research has really kind of shown the fact that when you are giddy and euphoric, this excitement that we have when we're spending time with someone, or, especially even my favorite is the way that they say your name. It is something, now, in my opinion, they probably say our name like everybody else does, but it is something about your name crossing their lips that does something for you, or the way that they look at you, and that's different than how other people look at you. Well, what's happening is you are in effect, you are falling in love. And when you're falling in love, the dopamine chemical, which is a neurotransmitter, is being released from your brain. So love can actually seem like it's an addiction. So when people are saying, that they are falling in love, that means that one day they were feeling one particular way, but now guess what's happening? I am actually getting to a place where the more time I spend with you, the more I am enjoying this emotion that is coming about, which is actually this dopamine and this oxytocin that is being released. So all of this together is a high sensation feeling of love, but it's these chemicals that are coming out because of what is happening to us when we are getting to a place where not just knowing someone, but we like the fact that they are enjoying knowing us and getting to know us. And then they actually are fulfilling our emotional and relational needs. So over time, of course, I'm going to want to spend more time with this type of individual. Thus, I'm falling in love with them. I didn't expect that I was going to be here, but these emotions just surface, and I'm going with these emotions, right? And when it's great, it's great. But when it's bad and it crashes, it's bad. But the great news is it means that, when I say great news, I'm not saying that it's bad when things go wrong. I'm saying that the great news is even if it's happened once, it can happen again. It doesn't mean that the first time it has to be the last time. It just means that there's a next time that's coming. So when we're looking at whether love is a decision or if it's a feeling, in essence, it's really both. You can't tear one away from the other. It's like saying which came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, if looking at love and it being a decision or a feeling, well, I had to spend time with you and then that's how these emotions surface because I was spending time with you. But in the same sense, I might have had this initial feeling that made me say, hey, I want to give this person a shot. And then it grew from there. I think it varies on the individual, but at the end of the day, love is a decision. Here's why I say that, everyone. When you are looking at the fact that life will hit you, and trust me, life will, things happen, things take place that we do not like nor approve of, but we have to go with the punches because we're just living in this world and things happen to us. When things don't go my way at work, or if the kids aren't if the kids aren't acting a particular way that we need, what happens? What do we do? And the point that I'm trying to make here is that every relationship that has struggled has actually improved if they have chosen to stay together. And if they have chosen to stay together, they made a decision to continue to love each other in spite of them not liking each other in certain moments. And when we make that decision, that means we are purposefully looking at positive things, overriding the negative things. It doesn't mean that the negatives aren't there. It just means that I am choosing to ignore those or pay less attention to those and pay more attention to these positive experiences. And if I'm going back to what's happening chemically, neurologically, when we pay attention to the positive things, those are always in the forefront of our mind. Gottman, Dr. John Gottman, very well-known research individual in this particular area, has found that there is a 1-to-5 ratio. For every time that something negative happens in a relationship, you have to have 5 positive experiences to override the negative. So it's a reason why when people are saying that, they can't remember them ever doing anything good, they're not lying. It's because the brain is pushing that further and further back. Look at it like a file cabinet, and that file goes to the very back of the file. And in the beginning, in the front of that file, we're like looking at it from like A to Z. All of the bad things are in the front, and then the good things are in the back. In order to remove the bad things, right, you have to pull that file out. And the only way you can do it is with a positive. So for every one thing that happens negatively, you have to have 5 positive things to really kind of eat up, so to speak, that negative. And that's what helps that negative memory to dissipate or not be as strong anymore. So again, that goes back to making a decision. When you decide to love someone during those rough periods, those unlikable moments that they may be experiencing, or when they're not fulfilled professionally, or they are having difficulties in other areas of their lives, maybe with family, or, maybe with certain dreams that have yet to be fulfilled. When we decide that we love them, then we stay there through the good as well as the bad. However, when you are feeling love and you're allowing love to lead you, which is something we should not do, it is an indication, it is a guide, it is a roadmap, right? We have to look at the fact that love is not supposed to be leading the way. It is a great indicator to allow us to know what is happening within ourselves so we can, course correct. But it should not totally be taking over and guiding us, being our GPS system, because that means love is making the decisions for everything. So when things are bad, if love is the GPS to get me from point A to point B, meaning I'm unhappy, make me happy, well, then that's in error, because there's this old saying, marriage is 50-50. And that is one of the biggest lies that ever exists. First of all, we both need to come into the marriage 100% on both sides, because guess what? There are things that are going to happen to us throughout the course of this marriage, whereas I won't even be able to give 100%, right? Think of being ill. When you're ill, your partner cannot give you 100%, but they show up giving everything that they have. Even though it's not 100, it's their 100 in the moment, because that's all that they have within them in the moment. So for example, if I am ill and I cannot fully be my normal, happy-go-lucky self, I am still going through the motions, still giving you what you have, but you know that I'm not fully being me, but I'm trying. So we have to honor the fact that this person is not themselves. They're not 100%, but they're trying. So because you're trying, I'm going to meet you where you are. I'm going to give you my best because I'm going to pull up the slack where maybe you don't have the ability or the energy to give me, right? So if we look at that with regard to an issue, if we're struggling and we're overcoming some things together, then maybe some things have taken place that I dislike. Maybe you've done something that has hurt me and I have to push past, but I'm hurting. So I can't give you 100% because I'm hurting. So guess what? I'll give you what I have, but you have to pick up the slack, which means you're probably going to have to do more in order for us to overcome this. I can't even tell you how many marriages and couples I know that when they have decided to pick up the slack for the other person for whatever reason or whatever struggle that they've had to endure, they always come out stronger and better. But it is because they made a decision. It had nothing to do with the fact of how they felt. I think emotions are really great in the beginning as an indicator, but they cannot really be our guide or our GPS because there will be days where you are just not happy. There will be days where you are unsure, but the decision to love allows you to keep moving with this person in a great direction together. However, if you're guided by your emotions, well, unfortunately, you may decide because it's not a great day, a great month, heck, even a great year, that this isn't for me. And you can be totally misguided and in error simply because you're being led by emotions. And emotions are fickle. They change every single day. So when I make a decision to do something, I've decided that through the good and the bad, I'm sticking with this thing, right? So think of it, let's look at it from a different angle. If I'm building a business, there will be good days and there will be bad days. However, if I made a decision to see this thing through, how many of us know when you see that thing come to pass and it's standing before you that your dream is now a reality, you know you had to push through some really difficult moments, that it was really rough for you, but look what happened when you pushed through. Look at this thing that is no longer in your head anymore. It is something for everyone to experience. It has come to pass. It is real life in color standing before you. That was because you made a decision, even on those days where you weren't feeling it. But what would happen if you let go? You know, they say that the graveyard is the one place, and I might get this phrasing wrong, but it's the one place where so many dreams go to die. Why? Because we have people that are no longer living that died with their dreams because they didn't see them through, because somewhere along the way, they allowed their emotions to take over, as opposed to making a decision to stick with it through the good and the bad. And that's what we're really getting to. That's what we're talking about, is staying with something through the good and the bad. And just to give you all another point, when it comes to research, and it's actually right, you have to have research, folks, because that's what we're using as indicators to let us know if we're headed in the right direction, so that if we're not, then we can pivot. But research shows that most marriages generally fail within the first 7 years. And they say that the first year is the roughest. Well, the first year is the roughest because guess what? I'm now living with you. So now I am in close, up front, in color, seeing you 24 hours a day. You're not putting on your best front or your best face for me. I'm actually just seeing how you are in your living, right? We're not sharing space here and there. Maybe if you have a night together, weekend together, vacation together, it's not real. Living with you day to day, that's real because I'm seeing the real you. Nothing is, being kept from me now. And a lot of people say that's different because now that I'm living with you, I know how you move and groove throughout the day. I know how you interact within your home within the day, how you want certain things kept, what your mindset is, how you want us to move forward. I'm able to see that. So that's why a lot of marriages generally tend to be most difficult within the first year. But the roughest years are those first 7 because you are learning to become one. You are learning how to live this life together. Now, after you go through that 7 years, you'll see a lot of people say, oh yeah, we've had some up and downs. And that's because, you had that first period of adjustment where you had to get accustomed and acclimated to one another. But then you'll have this nice little groove going and things will be great for a while. Well, guess what? You hit another patch. So think of it like a roller coaster. So now you're cruising, things are great, but now you're actually headed up, right? And that's because when I say headed up, meaning you're getting ready to hit this plateau where then you're going to fall. Not everyone, but some people do. Many people do based off of research. But it's because you're coasting through life. You have adjusted, right? You have gotten to the place where you are knowing one another and how to interact within your day, within your home, and actually live this life as one, is what I'm trying to say. But what happens is something changes. So if something changes, maybe, our kid isn't a toddler anymore. Maybe they're now in school and we have to rearrange our work schedules, or maybe our kids are in high school, whatever that is. When you hit this next plateau, they say the next period is between year 9 and 16. That is problematic, causing trouble. Now, why does it last long? It's not that it lasts long. It's the fact that if you have children within this time period, so I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, there are so many wide spans of time that things are bad within a marriage. No, it's the fact that if you are, remember I talked about this in the beginning, if you are adding a third person, right? So if you have children, then between years 9 and 16, if you have children, then you are going through a lot of change because you are needing to change with the child. So as an adult, we're pretty much settled in who we are, right? We're learning and growing together. But children, they're going through different stages of life. They are going from, babies to toddlers, to young children, to teenagers, to young adults. And as a parent leading and guiding them, you are leading them along the way. But guess what? If you and your spouse are not 100% in agreement with how that should look, that's what also causes problems, because how does that mean that you both show up? What is required for you both to show up for your child or your children? So that's why that period exists again. But then you get to sweet 16. That's right. It's sweet for everybody, including couples. When couples get to that sweet 16, here's what happens. You have made the decision to stay together, but guess what? In staying together, you have gotten so accustomed to knowing one another that you can do smooth sailing. And most couples who reach this point, I'm not saying it's all, because unfortunately we saw with Steph Curry's parents that they had been married over 35 years, and unfortunately they have recently divorced. That's different. I'm going to come to that in a second. But generally over year 16, you have learned to grow together. You have learned what works for your relationship, not so-and-so's relationship, but yours. And you've made that work for you. So because you have made it work for you, it's generally smooth sailing from there. And it's only minor bumps that come along the way, or even big bumps. But if they come, you as a couple really know how to handle them because you have learned one another. Now, going back to that point in regard to Steph Curry's parents, it's sad. I hate to see any, relationship, fail. But most couples who last that long together, unfortunately, it means that they were masking something or they recently became aware of something. So it's a drastic thing in the aspect that something new has happened that this is my deal breaker. I cannot handle this. Or it's the fact that I've been dealing with something for so long, whether you were sweeping it under the rug or not, or you were trying to work with this person. And then finally, you just got to a place where you're like, look, I'm tired of hurting. In my experience, many people who divorce generally divorce because they no longer want to hurt. Loving the person is not the issue, because if that were the case, then this wouldn't be a question to discuss. So it goes back to that decision. I've decided that I don't want to hurt anymore because I'm feeling this emotion, but I no longer want to feel this negative emotion. I have tried everything I can. Now I have to make a decision to leave because I am choosing not to hurt anymore. Just going back to our question, can you see we have come full circle? Is it love a decision or is it an emotion? When love is a decision, sometimes you can hang in there through the rough stuff. But sometimes people get to a place where they're like, you know what? I am a person of a particular age, and for however many years I have left in life, I have dealt with you and your thing for I don't know how long, or I tried to deal with you in this new thing that has just been brought to my attention and I can't. I want to be happy in life, and that means I'm not going to be able to do it with you. All right. Now, getting into reasons of infidelity, that's an entirely different episode, right? So I'll have to put that on the back burner for another day. But the point is, you've made a decision. And the decision is generally because you have watched yourself either hurt, try, the other person not try, and no matter what has happened, what has taken place, this is something that you all can't get past, therefore a decision was made. But again, it goes back to the question, which means I'm going to leave it up to you. Is love a decision or is it an emotion? Everybody's different, but that's my view. All right. Well, that's it for today's episode, everyone. So let's recap. You know how I like to close out the show. I love to take our temperature. So if I had to look at our like it, love it, and leave it tips for today, my like it tip would basically say, I like the fact that we all can choose which direction is best for us, meaning there isn't one thing that we all would agree on that we have to agree on in this particular case, which means the choice is yours. You're free to say, hey, no, for me, love is a feeling. And some people can say, no, for me, love is a decision. But it's what you do with that that is important, because once you've gotten there where you know that love is in play, it's what you do with it that's most important. And that's the real, should I say, important thing to focus upon. What do I love? I love the fact that when it comes to relationships, it's not really about opinion. It's about what works for you, knowing yourself, knowing your partner, and knowing how your relationship works, but also being wise and adding wisdom to this recipe and recognizing that, there is research out here that actually includes people of color. And because of that, we can take other people's experiences and use that information to better us. So if I know that marriages are rough during those first few years, well, I'm diving in, giving it everything that I have. If I know that I'm going to reach the sweet 16 mark, well, then I am looking forward to getting past those rough patches because there's something good coming at the end, right? I'm saving, the good stuff for the end, and it's coming. Not meaning that there won't be great moments in between, but it lets us know that there's something hopeful to come after we went through those rough patches. So I love the fact that we can actually use research to our advantage and know what to do. So if I know things are bad and I just learned about this 1-to-5 ratio, well, then it may be difficult, it may be challenging, but I'm going to put 5 positive things towards every negative experience that I have with my partner. Why? Because my partner means something to me, and my life with my partner means something to me. And I wanted to work. I made a decision to make it work. And I also love them and I want it to work. So I'm going to do what it takes. Now, my leave it would be, there's really no need to really say, well, what do you think? What do you think? It's a matter of what you think. Now, some people may differ and disagree. Some people will totally say, love is a decision. Why are you telling people that it is about emotion? And as a counselor, it's because as a counselor, it's not up to me to tell someone what to see and how to see it, but I do provide them with the information. I honestly do believe it is a decision because at the end of the day, I've decided to be with you. I have decided to stay with you. And if I allow my feelings to get in the way when it's bad, then the decision can dissolve. But I use my feelings as opposed to my feelings using me. So what does that mean? Well, when my feelings are, heading in a good direction, I'm following my heart, but I'm taking my brain with me, which means, okay, my heart is feeling this person. I'm loving them. And even though things may not be 100%, with them, that they're only giving me 80% of what it is that I want and need, 80, those are good numbers. So we're going to leave out every other person's opinion because what matters at the end of the day is what is important to you and your spouse, you and your partner. You won't always agree with it. So I'm giving an example. I am not a person who believes in open relationships. So that crap that Will and Jada was talking about, well, okay, it works for them. That's fine. But that's some stupid stuff to me. Now, that's just my opinion. And, you have yours and it may agree or disagree. But a lot of hurt and pain could be avoided with certain points such as what they've experienced. And there are other couples that exist out there. I actually go to conferences that have a lot of this information involved. And I'm just always like, wow, this is interesting. This is a new day and age. But that's another topic for another day. So leave out everyone else's opinion. Just do what works for you and your partner. And if that's what works for you, great. And if that doesn't work, well, then you can come see people like me, or if not myself. All right. All right, guys. Well, that is it for today's episode. I hope you have some greater clarity, at least for love and the decisions toward love and how that can be or is applicable to you. And of course, don't forget to rate and review us wherever you've downloaded the show. I told you that there are some new things coming for season 5. I've got a lot of stuff to tell you in season 5. So I know it's only October, but guess what? We are closing down to the end of the year. And once we start up for the new year, I am sharing a lot of new things. You will hear about it here. I hope you all are excited as me. I'm going to share it because if I have it, then why not? I might as well share it with you because I want everyone else to experience the best from life and love. So stay tuned. Keep listening. I've enjoyed you all these 4 seasons, and we're getting ready to head into season 5. So stay with us. And of course, rate and review us wherever you download the show. And I guess that is it for this time, guys. I will see you in a couple of weeks. That's it for now. This is me, Dr. Sadia, helping you to give and receive the love you both want and need. Until next time, be blessed, everyone. Bye-bye.